Welcome to the Elevate Podcast, your resource for all things business, brand, and leadership. We are excited you have decided to join us today.
Welcome, everybody. Elevate. I am Robert Kalin. I'm so excited today because you know what? We have Thanksgiving tomorrow, and we're talking today about struggles and success and really just an attitude of gratitude. And before we get going, Mike, before we introduce the actual episode and all that, I want to say one thing that I'm grateful for, which is you. I am grateful for you guys to be listening to this episode, to be listening to our podcast, and to be making impact wherever you are. I am so grateful that there are people in this world like you who are making positive impact with what they're doing. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for you as well, and I'm grateful for you, Robert, for having the leadership to put this together and for inviting me to be a part of this. This is an exciting thing. We're progressing through the first year of the Elevate podcast, making an impact on people in their lives with business, brand, and leadership. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be part of this. And Thanksgiving is always a great time of year for us to just pause for a little bit and think about what is it that we're grateful for.
And for those of you guys who are outside of the United States that maybe don't do Thanksgiving, that's okay. You can still take a moment with us and just think about what you're grateful for. So we have an awesome episode lined up for you guys today to really get us in this mindset and this thought. Mike, I know that you were reading a Forbes magazine article with Don Yeager, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Don Yeager, if you don't know who Don is, Don's a writer of all kinds of sports books. He was the person who got to sit beside many sports coaches and sports legends throughout his career of what he's done. And he has a podcast called the Corporate Competitor Podcast, where he takes individuals who are in high-level leadership positions inside of organizations and walks backwards through their life to where being on a team or something had moved them in a particular direction. Some of them are really high-flying individuals who were really successful, and others are just people who have played high school baseball or basketball or football. But sports has an impact on leadership, and that's Don's perspective. And so recently there's been a lot of things around what's called the transfer portal in NCAA sports. And that transfer portal is an opportunity now that started a couple of years ago where a person who maybe is not happy with where they're at in the program, they're not getting the playing time maybe that they hope to, they can transfer to another school, and it doesn't impact their eligibility if they do it in that period of time. In the old days, when not that I was ever a college athlete, but you would lose a year of eligibility if you transferred to another school. Those have changed. And so what Don's article was about success takes struggles and about how we overcome those things. And so he had done some interviews with some of the coaches that he knew, and Michigan State's men's basketball coach that's been there a long time, Tom Izzo. He thinks that the transfer portal makes it hard to learn some important lessons in life, and that's really where the title of our piece comes from today. He says that success takes struggles. And Izzo says that too many players take some bad advice from either from their agents or from competing coaches or people that they have trust in, telling them they should leave because they're unhappy. And usually it's because of too little playing time. And here's what his quote says. He says, "What's wrong with being unhappy? I am unhappy most of my life. Unhappy drives you. Unhappy pushes you. Unhappy makes people realize, you know what? I'm not good enough. I've got to get better." And so he takes the unhappiness of where someone's at as being the motivation to move them forward, because success takes struggles. And so I know that individuals that have played for Coach Izzo, because he's been around for forever, have had huge success. You probably know that name, Magic Johnson. He played for Coach Izzo. And so his whole thing is, don't be unhappy. Figure out where your gratitude comes in for where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. There is this quote that Kobe Bryant said. He said, "Everything negative, whether it's pressure, challenges, is all an opportunity for me to rise." And I absolutely love that thinking, because that's the same thing that we're talking about here. When we can take a challenge and we can see it as an opportunity to push and do better and be better and become better. I also think about there's a verse in Colossians 3 that I always lean on when it comes to work, and it kind of changes my perspective around why I'm doing what I'm doing, which is this. I'm going to read it. It says, "Whatever you do, work heartily as to the Lord and not for men." And it changes my perspective of, like, if I'm upset because, maybe my coach didn't give me enough playing time, you know what? I'm still going to do my best, because it's not about that. It's not about him. It's about doing what I need to do to get better.
Yeah, there's so oftentimes we want to externalize the challenge that we have. That we want to say, well, it's Robert's fault that I'm not, able to do the work that I'm doing, or to be able to play at this particular level, or there's a guy in front of me and they just play favoritism to him. We can go down that negative cycle, or we can, or spiral, or we can create a new cycle of a different attitude. And needless to say, you guys know I love sports and I pick up things from there. And so I remember this story about, we've probably all heard of Tom Brady, who is one of the greatest football players of all time. But you know what? When he was a college freshman and was on the team, he was number 7 on the depth chart. So that means, like, you're like, way, way, way down. And his story is he was getting 2 snaps, 2 plays a practice. And he went in to one of the assistant coaches and he said to him, "Hey, how am I ever going to get better if I only get 2 snaps a game? How am I ever going to get to be that starter that I want to be, that you recruited me here to be?" And Tom said that he said the coach looked at him and he said, "What are you doing with the 2 snaps? Are you doing your best? Are you giving it everything you've got? Because if you do that, you're going to get more snaps." And he said that changed my attitude right then. I became grateful for the opportunity that I had to be on that team. He said I could have went the other way, but I decided to take it as I'm grateful for where I'm at. I'm thankful for it. He said I became the best 2 snap quarterback. And he says, and pretty soon, you know what? I was running on the field. I was excited. I got guys pumped up in the huddle. I was doing my best. And the result of that was, because I was good with 2 things, they became 4 things, and they became 8 things. And they became to where he was the starter. And now we all know he's a, Super Bowl winner multiple times over. And it wasn't about not getting, it was about doing what you have with the opportunity that you have in front of you.
And I love that so much, because the reality is that when we're faithful in the little things, the big things take care of themselves, because we're ready for it, right? I don't remember who said, I think it's John Wooden, when opportunity comes, it's too late to prepare. And, if we are prepared for the opportunities when they present themselves, we can take them to the next level. I think about this in terms of, like, a business, right? You've got a challenging customer. Are you showing up and giving them the excellent experience that they need, that you need to show up and give them? Or are you having kind of a woe is me attitude around it, going, man, you know what? Hey, guess what? You've got a customer. You have somebody that is paying you money to do a service, and you should give them the same service that you would want done for you. We can get into that victim mentality and kind of be like, oh man, but I want 10 customers. I don't want just one customer.
Robert, in our previous episode, you were talking about being in Orlando at a hotel there, and it just came to my mind just now that I was there in Orlando a number of years ago at a huge Maxwell Leadership Conference, and I would in the morning before everything started, because I wanted to get my seat in the right spot, and sitting there kind of reviewing my notes from the day before. And the evening before, I had met the manager of the hotel, just happened by chance to be in the same space, and I found out he was the manager. And so I'm in the room there and I see him, but he's got a pitcher of water and he's filling up water glasses on the table. And he came over to me, and he's there and he realized that, oh yeah, we had that conversation last night, and I said, so hey, you guys have such a great place here, but I'm really curious why you as the manager are in here filling up water glasses. And he goes, well, I had a guy call in sick this morning, and we got to get the work done. And I said, well, that's really interesting, And he says, well, here's what we know in our business. If one person has a bad experience with our company, 300 people know about it by the end of the day.
Mm.
And those 300 people are going to tell more people. And the exponential impact of somebody not having what is anticipated is huge. So we do all the little things so that we can make sure that our clients, our guests are served in the most best manner possible.
So,
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, oftentimes we don't think about success and struggle in this small of windows, right? Somebody calls out, you come there and you fill up water and you create an experience. But I think the challenges that we have give us an opportunity to build our character. And that's really what this is about, because your character is so important to everything that you do. And are you going to be the person, for a general manager to be in that room filling up water glasses, he could have easily said, hey, that's not my job. That's not my role. I'm above that. We need someone else to come in here and do this. And, to my staff, you guys have to go figure that out. But this guy had character and did the exact opposite and said, you know what, I'm going to step in and I'm going to do what needs to get done because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and people are watching. So we talked in the last episode about how do people see you? How do you show up? What is it that you do? Mm-hmm. The guy ran a massive organization, and here he is filling up water glasses because it needs to get done.
Yeah.
And so everybody in that room that was one of the employees that worked with him go, nothing's above what he does. He can do this. He can do it with a great attitude. I can do it with a great attitude.
That's right.
When we talk about success takes struggle, is that many times we're not willing to go through those struggles. We think that it's too hard. And I know that all of us, if you haven't had a struggle, you probably haven't been a leader. If you haven't had a tough time, you probably haven't been a leader. And all of us, it doesn't matter whether the sports example that we had or the business example that we just gave or the hotel example, whatever it is, there's always struggles. And we have to figure out how to get through those mm-hmm. and how our attitude drives the success that we have. So Robert, as we're talking about this, you've been involved in all kinds of things here recently with writing your book, Generous Influencers. I don't know if you got a chapter in there called Success Takes Struggle, but I know that wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Okay, that it took a lot of hard work and effort, a lot of probably difficult feedback to make changes that you've shared before on the podcast here, to the order of chapters, to whatever. But now you have sitting behind you on the bookshelf that book that you invested time in, and you can get that book from Robert going to countercultureleadership.com and picking up his book there. But it's your focus is about how to be a generous influencer. Mm-hmm. So as we have a little bit of time left here, I want you to take the struggles that you had to turn that into a success, and then what you see happening as you step into the future of the next step of what you're doing with the book and where you're going.
Yeah, that's great. So thanks, Mike. I think, struggle, it is so hard to do anything worth doing. Everything that's worth doing is always uphill. And because we don't know what we don't know, because our character maybe hasn't been fully developed, maybe there's a lack of understanding in the calling that we have. I don't know what it is, but I think we're built I put this in my book, we're built in three parts. It's like three legs to a stool. We've got character, we've got calling, and we've got our competencies. And with those things, they are all built at the same time, and you don't build them without struggle. You don't build them without going uphill. And as I think about the work that it takes to like write a book and edit a book and publish a book and get all that constructive feedback, and sometimes it hurts a little bit, sometimes it stings, sometimes it's I remember the first I'm going to give this out there, the first chapter that I even wrote was absolutely terrible. Mike, you were the only one who read it, and you gave it back and you said, you need to put some stories in here because this is it needs work, it needs some help. And you did that graciously, but if I would have given up there, this wouldn't have ever happened. So I think the most important thing is just push through the struggles, move through them, and have the attitude of the next thing is going to be better than where you are right now. I think we tend to think about the grass is greener on the other side, but it's greener where we water it. And if we're not watering the grass that we have, our grass is just going to be dry and barren, So struggle, push through it, move forward to the next great thing, because greatness never comes from people who don't try, people who give up. I can't remember who said it, but and this isn't even the actual quote, but it's something along the lines of like, the people who succeed are just the people who haven't given up.
Yeah.
Success is inevitable if you don't give up. So I'll leave with that.
And sometimes your success happens by just pushing through for the next day, but mostly it's about consistency over time. Consistency over time. I'm an overnight success, but it took 16 years to get here.
Exactly.
Is some people's stories. And so each one of us, I think we have the opportunity to say, you know what, my goal, my vision about what I want for my life, for my family is bigger than me. And there will be struggles along the way. Nobody ever promised it would be easy, but I can promise you it'll be worthwhile.
So good.
And so, Robert, I don't know what it feels like because I've never written a book and published a book, but I can't imagine the feeling that you had when those arrived in the box to you the first time, and you got to open it up and you said, wow, here's all this effort and all this thing that I've done, and now look at it.
Yeah, you know what? If you want to see that video, because I did do it live, it is on my Instagram at robertjkalin.com. You can go scroll back through my feed and see that video, that live video. But you said something just a second ago that I want to pull back really quick. I know we're on time here, but you said your vision is bigger than you. And I think that's another piece of the challenge, is that when our vision is bigger than us, it requires other people in order to pull it off. And learning how to work with other people is one of the biggest challenges we need to overcome as leaders. I was reading an article this morning that was talking about business owners who are, you can become a millionaire and a billionaire and a quadrillionaire, whatever, without being kind, but you don't have friends along the way, right? And do we want to be people who have rich and deep friendships and relationships with people? It's going to require us to be able to work with other people and understand how to do that. And I know you've got some really great resources with the DISC personality style assessments and the 6 types of working genius at innovationsandleadership.com that people can go to and learn how to better work with other people, so that their visions can become what they see in their mind.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. I think that the more that we can learn about ourselves, the better we are as people, as a spouse, as a dad or mom, as an employee. And I want to just take, as we wrap this up, and we're talking about, success through struggle and being grateful for that, is just thinking about, what is it that you're grateful for the people around you? whether it is your family right now, the people that you work with, the people that you interact with on a regular basis. It might be your barista at your favorite coffee place. Whatever it is, what is it that you're thankful for? And then intentionally tell them that you're thankful for them. Because I think that's the biggest part. When people hear that, sometimes it feels awkward, but when we say it, you get to a certain point in your life where you've got to say some things, because if you don't say them, who will? And that person may be gone. And so some of you maybe this holiday season are experiencing the first time a loss of somebody that used to sit at the table. And, you think about what you wish you would have been able to say. Say that to the people around the table tomorrow.
That's good. That's good, Mike. I can't say anything further than that. I think that's the good way to wrap it up.
All right.
I love it. You guys, happy Thanksgiving. We love you. We're thankful for you. We'll see you next week. Take care. God bless.
Thank you for joining us. Our hope is this episode has been helpful for you today. If it's impacted you in some way, we encourage you to share it with someone. To receive a direct notification of our next episode, click the follow button on your favorite app or platform. You can also watch each episode on YouTube. The links are in the description. If you want to connect with us on a deeper level, go to countercultureleadership.com/resources. We'll see you next week on the Elevate Podcast.